Happywax TV. So tonight we're talking about Death Ranch. They're trying to sell it as like a Grindhouse style movie. And, you know, I will give them props. It does kind of have that feel to it. It's directed and produced by Charlie Steeds. If there's one thing I've found with Charlie Steeds movies, when reviewers talk about them, it's like they either love them or they hate them. There's very little in between ground when it comes to his movies. I'm kind of right in the middle though, okay, because I did a review for Barge People and I did a review for Winter Skin, and I thought they were both fairly decent movies. Now again, these movies are done on a super low budget, okay? I did watch Vampire Virus, and I also watched a few minutes of A Werewolf in England, and both of those movies I didn't want to talk about them, okay? I just didn't want to go there. So when I saw that he had Death Ranch coming out and he was going to kind of sell it as a Grindhouse style feature, I thought, okay, well, I'm interested in this. Let's see what he's got going on here. And I sat down and watched it, and I'll tell you, I mean, I didn't love this movie, but I thought for the most part it was okay. It was better than most I've seen in the last little while. Well, let me get into the synopsis, and then I'll talk about this one. I might get into spoilers, so if you don't want to hear spoilers and you want to go watch this movie first, for me to give it a rating, probably going to give it a 5.5, maybe a 6. Okay, but I might get into spoilers, so you know what I'm like, I get rambling. So anyways, let me do the synopsis. 1970s USA, 3 African-American siblings on the run from the police take refuge at a Tennessee ranch, unaware it's on a hunting ground of the Ku Klux Klan cult. Trapped and tortured, they fight to escape and take down the bloodthirsty Klan. Okay, well, that's pretty much the story. The first act, we're introduced to Brandon, Angela, and Clarence Cobbs. Brandon has just escaped from prison. He's made a phone call to his brother and sister. Brandon is played by DeAndre Teagle, who does a fantastic job in this movie, and his sister Angela is played by Faith Monique, and Travis Kuttner is his other brother Clarence, or his brother Clarence, sorry. Anyways, they pick him up. Angela and Clarence pick him up, and then they go to their deceased uncle's barn, and they want to hide out there until things kind of cool down, and then they're going to make plans to kind of, you know, go elsewhere, and Brandon can live his life and kind of restart again. From what I gathered in the movie, in the first act, we're told he is in prison for armed robbery, and I think there was like a child that died in the armed robbery or something like that, and that's why he was sentenced to life. Again, this is the 1970s too, so... but anyways, so they're hiding out, and then that night, Brandon goes out for a walk after getting a huge lecture from his brother, who more or less just told him to get his shit together, and he's an embarrassment. So he's out walking, and then he comes across this KKK clan who are in the process of doing one of their, I guess you would call it a ceremony, and they have this young black woman, and they're going to murder her and then eat her. Okay, we don't know that at that point, but we find out later on. What it is this KKK clan is taken to the next level. They're actually like a cannibal cult as well. And they kidnap black people, kill them, and then they eat their skin and their flesh. And yeah, that's what they do. So the first act, the KKK, you know, they find Brandon and they come after him, which leads them to the barn. The second act is they capture the 3 siblings and then they torture them. And then the third act is they escape, or at least 2 of them do, and then they wreak havoc on the KKK, and that's this movie, the end. You know what I mean? But if there's one thing you can get with a Charlie Steeds movie, is you are going to get a shit ton of practical, not CGI, but practical gore. Okay, and this movie was... I did find some scenes maybe a bit tame, considering it was trying to go for this exploitation kind of Grindhouse style, but I mean, there is tons and tons of blood and gore in this movie. There's beheadings. I mean, there's a castration scene where poor Brandon is tied up with his pants off, and they set a lighter under his balls, and burn them. They don't actually show it, but even just the blood dripping down from, like, oh my God, you know what I mean? It's just some things don't need to be seen, I guess. There's also another scene too in the second act. It's kind of a rape scene. I don't like watching that stuff, so I did appreciate the fact that he made it so that we got the gist of what these fucking idiots were doing to Angela, but they didn't show anything too graphic. Now, back in the old days, you know, in the exploitation films and blaxploitation films and you know, the Grindhouse movies they showed back, they may have, well, they've gone the extra mile to show that sort of stuff. And I don't know, I don't like seeing that stuff, so I was glad that he kind of did that portion tastefully, but he still sleazed it up enough for it to be greasy and slimy. You know what I mean? But I don't know, man. When they escape and they start killing these KKK members, when they start battling back and forth, it was great. Again, there's lots of blood and guts and all sorts of stuff, which is what you get with a Charlie Steeds movie. The one thing I didn't like about this movie was, and again, don't get me wrong here, okay? The KKK are a bunch of fucktards on the best of days, okay? I have no use for them at all. I despise them. But as a villain in this movie, he dumbed them down so much that it was almost hard to make it believable that they were actually capable of doing some of the things that they did, as far as even just having a fucking thought process, to be honest with you. But it's just, he just dumbed them down so much. It was kind of goofy in some scenes. You know what I mean? Just because they were portrayed so stupidly, but they get what they deserve in the end. You know what I mean? And again, that's probably a spoiler, but I warned you ahead of time. But you know, again, it's gory, it's bloody. If you're a gore hound, you're going to love this movie. You know what I mean? Like, the story is very basic. I pretty much just explained it all to you. It's got 3 acts. We're introduced to our main characters and the threat that is going to come for them. Second act, they get kidnapped and tortured. Third act, they escape, or a couple of them do. And then they wreak havoc on these fucking idiots. So that's pretty much it. And then again, with some of these movies, these low budgeted movies, you have to take some stupid with it. You know what I mean? Like the fact that the guns never run out of ammo is a joke itself. Like, I mean, you've got a 2-shot shotgun and it's like constantly being shot. Like it's little things like that. The fact that Brandon has his balls pretty much burned off and all these other horrendous things that they've done to him in the torture scene, and how he's even still able to function is, you know what I mean? But again, it's a gory style horror movie. You know what I mean? And you're just supposed to accept the fact that these guys can get taken to the brink of death, and then they can survive and come back and still lay a beating, you know, on these guys. And that's I mean, really, honestly, they didn't have to use the KKK. You know what I mean? They could have used anything. They could have used like cannibals, or like a fucked up family, kind of like in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I guess are cannibals, but they could have used anything in this situation. Fuck, they could have used aliens in the woods if they want. They were coming after these three siblings, but you know, given the times, 1970s, you know, KKK, the racial thing is huge right now. It's just, and he wrote this movie 3 years ago. And it's funny because it's really relevant right now to what's going on. So I don't know. I like this movie. I thought it was pretty good. I love how he uses all practical gore. So I'm glad that everything that he pretty much used was all practical. And that's what you get with the Charlie Steeds movie. Love his movies or hate them. You know, the way he films or his dialogue with his characters, whatever. But if there's one thing you're always going to get with a Charlie Steeds movie, is you're going to get tons and tons and tons of gore. So Death Ranch, guys, it's out now. I know my comment section is always heated when it comes to Charlie Steeds movies. Some of you love them, some of you hate them, but I am recommending this movie, and I get what you guys are saying, some of you, okay, but I would say give this one a chance. It's out for rent now. If you've seen it, let me know what you think. If you haven't, go rent it. I think you'll enjoy this one, I really do, and then come back here and let me know what you guys thought, and yeah, until next time, stay scared.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.